One thing in life that's so special is finding people who just get you. People who bring out the best in you, who you can laugh with, lean on, and who support you through life's ups and downs. And when those people share your faith, it's a whole other level. That's what we're talking about today. Whether you're searching for good Christian friends or wanting to go deeper with the friends you already have, this episode is for you. So welcome to the edition. Today, it's the friendship edition. Let's get into it. Well, welcome back to the edition. I am so glad you are here. Today, we're talking about something really close to my heart, something I love talking about, and that's friendship, but specifically finding good Christian friends. So welcome to the friendship edition. Having friends is one thing, but having friends who are aligned with your faith is a totally different thing, and it's something that's special and sometimes rare. So I'm excited to talk about, why we need these friendships, how to find them, and how to keep them strong. Those are the three things that we're going to be diving in today. So if you watched any of my vlogs or YouTube channel or anything, or you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me constantly bragging on my friends. I think it's one of God's greatest gifts, especially because I am single. That really doesn't have anything to do with it, but I notice it more because I am single, how much I really value friendship. And so I won't start naming friends, but let's just say I have friends all over the US and even the globe. And I feel really, really blessed to have those. I was thinking about all of the friends I have. So some of my best friends live in Wisconsin and Maryland and Florida and Georgia and Louisiana and Arizona and Texas. But one thing I was thinking about earlier is how I really don't have any really, really close friends here in Austin. And so I'm kind of in y'all's same boat if you're listening because you want to make new Christian friends. I recently met a few people who are Christians, and I'm excited to kind of develop that friendship and that relationship. But I was just thinking about my close friends, and none of them live in Austin. So we are in this together. So let's start with the why. Why do you think it's so important to have good faith-filled friends? Well, Proverbs 27:17 says this. It says, "Iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." And that's exactly what good Christian friendships are about. I'm probably going to drop the Christian because I think we all understand this episode is about Christ-centered friendships. So when I'm saying friendships, obviously I mean, friendships and relationships that are grounded in faith. So yeah, I feel like, it's so fun to have people that you can go to the movies with and travel with and, that you can call up with on a Friday night and just want to do something with them. But it's a totally different thing when those people can walk through life with you and can pray with you and can counsel you and you can trust the counsel. I think that's really so special. So for me, a good friend is someone who genuinely wants the best for you, not just in a surface level kind of way, but in a way that helps you to operate in your purpose and helps you to become the person that God created you to be. They're people who will hold you accountable. They're people who will cheer you on. They are people who will help you stay focused on what matters. They are just special, special friends. My best friend is so good at this. My best friend is Casey. She lives in Louisiana, and we see each other probably 4 times a year. But we make the most out of those friendship, what do we call them? Best friend weekends is usually what we call them. But let me tell you, I have never had a person cheer me on so well. Everything I do is amazing to her. And she's not only just yay, that's so good, but she's I knew you were capable of this. I can just see how you were made for this. And she really calls out my purpose in that, which encourages me to do that for so many other people. She helps me be a better friend to other people, and I'm just really so thankful. But yeah, I feel like friends should be a joy to be around. There's something amazing about just being able to share your life, the highs and the lows, with friends. You don't just need friends in the high places to ride with you when everything's going well. And you don't just need friends in the low places when things are depressing and not going the way that you want it to be. It's such a joy to have friends with you throughout the whole of life. and especially when they know and love Jesus. So that's what we're looking for, friends who will sharpen us, not just in our personalities or in our interests, but in our walk with God. So this scripture, Proverbs 27:17, I'll read it again. It says, iron sharpens iron, so that one person sharpens another. And I really just love that because, like I said, it's about more than just what worldly friendships are about. Like secular friendships are like, hey, what's the new cocktail place, or where can we get dinner? And all of that stuff is great, and I do all of that, and I think it's wonderful. But it's another thing when those people can call you up and call you, just sharpen you, like, hey, in this area I'm noticing some things that maybe aren't in line with who I know you are, or who I know God's called you to be. It is such a blessing. If you can see my face right now, I'm freaking out. I love friendships so much. Okay, so let's talk about good qualities to look for in a friend. Okay, so obviously someone who loves Jesus, number one, so important. I think authenticity and someone who is transparent and genuine are really good ones. I think people who are at their heart kind, I know that I am sassy and sarcastic and all the things, but I think that all has to be wrapped in kindness and not someone who's mean or rude or has you questioning your friendships. What else? I think someone who relates to your interests are good. I'm really into Pilates. I'm really into trying new restaurants. I'm really into reading. So friends who can do that. I have a friend who recently messaged me and was like, hey, let's go on a reading date. And we just went to this bookshop. That's like a bookshop and coffee shop. And we sat there for 2 hours and we read independently. And it was the best thing ever. I'm like, wow, I really love this. So I think that, friendships have roles, but I think the most important role that a friendship has is when they help you grow in your relationship with God. 100%. Okay. So you're thinking, and I know that you're like, okay, this all sounds great, but now how do I actually find these people? And again, you are not alone in feeling this way. This is going to be a pill that I'm swallowing as well, because like I just said, I feel like I have no Christian friends in Austin right now. I've recently had so many friends just up and move away from Austin, and I was just like, wait, what? I went from having this thriving community to all of a sudden feeling like I have literally no friends here. And so it's something that I'm working on. So we can talk through this together. So the first thing I would say is to get involved in community. Now, I know everyone says join a small group or serve at church, but there's a reason for that. There's merit to that. Church communities are designed for connecting people. And if you don't have a church, listen to next week's episode, because we're going to be talking about how to find a good church. So I do feel like the time that I was thriving the most at my church and had relationships, and, I would go into church and people would be like, oh, hey, even if they didn't know my name, they recognized me, was when I was in my life group at church. Or just honestly sitting next to the same people, or sitting in the same section at church every week, volunteering for events, or, this is a shocker, going up to someone and saying hello. I am so unafraid to do this, and I know that there's probably people who are like, I could never. But if I see someone else in a similar situation as me, maybe sitting alone, looks around my age, I will literally go say hello. There was this guy at church who I'd seen for several weeks, and he was kind of sitting in the same area. And at one point I just went up to him and I was like, hi, I'm Amaris. I've noticed you coming. And he had just started coming to the church. It was nice to get to meet someone. And now we just kind of wave at each other every Sunday when we see each other. So that's a good way to kind of start relationships and start friendships. Another thing is just finding opportunities so let's say your church is all elderly people. I know that's something that people will comment on my stuff. There's no young people at my church. Okay, that's fine. I would say find Christian organizations around the city where you live and start volunteering there. There's one here that I plan to get involved with in the new year. I've kind of gone through the interview process with them, background checks and all of that, to where I can just serve with those people. And I'm looking forward to meeting people again my age and who have similar interests. So another thing is to be open and vulnerable. So I used to be a little bit nervous about like, am I sharing too much? Am I sharing too little? Am I inviting people to things enough, or am I not inviting enough? It's hard to find that balance, but good friendships start when you are just open and vulnerable and willing to just do it. So I would rather someone feel like I'm reaching out too much as a friend than not at all, and them thinking that maybe I don't want a friendship with them. So I think you just have to take initiative and invite people somewhere. So there's one friend that I just met. I mentioned that I have a few new Christians that I've met that I'm excited to kind of form friendships with and relationships with. And I literally yesterday, I invited them to an event. If I see something on social media, I'll send it to a friend and say, hey, do you want to come to this with me? It doesn't have to be like so heavy and so big. It's just invites. You gotta sometimes take the initiative, you know? I think the biggest one, though, about how to find friendships, and you're going to roll your eyes at me because you already know this, but you probably haven't done it, is praying about it. I know it sounds simple. But I truly believe that God cares about relationships. Like, he made us to be in relationship with other people. So he definitely cares. So ask him for the friends that you need. I've had seasons where I really needed someone to talk to or someone to encourage me in a specific area, and I'd pray about it. And it's so crazy the way that God answers, whether that's literally through a stranger, which has happened to me, whether that's through a friend you haven't connected with in a long time. Like, God cares, and he knows your heart, and he knows the things that you're going through. But man, is there so much more power when you put faith behind it and ask God to meet that need. So yeah. Okay, so once you have those friends, or, you know, with the friends that you have, how do you maintain strong friendships and faith? Great question. Glad you asked. First, again, accountability is something that matters, and transparency is something that matters. I think that people only are willing to give as much as you give them in the beginnings of friendship. So what I mean by that is, like, people will match your level of vulnerability. They'll match your level of transparency. They'll match your level of accountability until you get into a place where you're a little bit more comfortable. Then there's a little bit more give and take. But in the beginning, I do think that you have to put yourself out there. Like I was just saying, sometimes it's the friend who will gently call you out or encourage you when you're struggling that really makes the difference. When you have a friend who loves Jesus, they can give you wise advice and hold you accountable in your faith journey. I think accountability is, like, again, one of God's best gifts if you use it and if you allow it to be, because like, I don't know, I just feel like friends, if Casey were to call me out on something, which she does, or I have to sometimes encourage her to tell me her opinion. But when she does, I really appreciate it, because it's someone that I know is for me, and I know it's someone who loves me, and I know it's someone who has kind of an outside view to what I'm very much inside of. And so I really appreciate when she's like, hey, this doesn't really sound like you're living to the level of what God's called you to do. And it's like, oh, hey. Or, hey, have you considered maybe that it's this instead of that? Like, or when I ask her for advice and she's like, I'm going to tell you what I think, but honestly, I think you should not do anything until you pray about it for a few days. I'm like, I needed that because I was about to make a very large mistake. So yeah, I think accountability is something that is really good in maintaining strong friendships and faith. Another one is quality time. If you're like me, you live a very busy life. I think sometimes we get so busy that we forget to make time for other people. Like, right now, my to-do list for this upcoming week is probably 30 things long. And I'm making a plan to do all of these things. And I'm like, okay, but when am I connecting with anyone? You got to make time for friends. And so it doesn't have to be something major. Maybe it's just a quick text to check in, or setting aside some time every couple of weeks to catch up. I know we have to do that. I have a friend who sent me a calendar invite for something literally in 2 months because life is just busy, but you have to be intentional. It shows people that you value them when you're intentional and even when you just send a small text. So showing up for your people is really good, and it's a good way to maintain friendships. And finally, I would say grace and forgiveness. Friendships are not always perfect, especially as adults, especially when you're busy, especially when there's just a lot going on. There might be times where you disagree or you misunderstand each other, and like that's okay because that's what true relationship is. I think it's important to not just throw the friendship out. I think it's important to be honest with what you're thinking, honest with what you're feeling, and let the friendship grow and mature from there, and not just be something that you are like, it's too much work, I'm done with it, because it honestly could be you throwing a gift away that God's given you. Just as God gives us grace, we need to be able to give grace to each other too. And sometimes being a good friend means that you are forgiving quickly, and it means that you're being patient, and it means that you're showing them love even when it's hard, or even when you disagree with what they did or what they said. I just think that that is a big part of maintaining strong friendships. So if you are listening today and you feel like you don't have any of those relationships, I just want to encourage you, one, don't lose hope. Again, like, God made us to be in relationship with other humans. If you read, at the beginning of Genesis, he creates Eve for Adam because he said it's not good for man to be alone. And there's all these other things that were occupying Adam's time, but he knew that human relationship is what he created us for and what we needed. We were created for relationship with him, but you get what I mean? Like, we need human relationship. And so don't lose hope. You're not alone. There's people out there who want to love you, want to be your friend, want to encourage you, want to build you up, want to walk in faith with you. And it takes time, as all relationships do. So it's okay to take small steps. Trust God with this, and he knows exactly who you need when you need them. But I would encourage you to put some faith behind it, and really just pray about it and be honest with God and let him know, kind of what you're needing. And for those of you who already have really great friends, I would encourage you this week, here's your challenge, to reach out to them. Let them know how much you love and appreciate them, and how you wouldn't be there without them. I think that's really special. Before we close, let's do a little check-in. Thank you guys so much for listening to last week's podcast. Like I said, this upcoming week, we're going to be talking about how to find good, godly churches. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to leave them below, and I'll try and include them in the next episode. But before we go, I just wanted to remind you that friendship is one of the ways that God brings joy and light into our lives. And I'm so grateful for the people he's placed in mine. And let's keep pursuing good friendships and holding on to the ones that make us better. And before we go, I just wanted to pray for you. God, I just thank you so much for the gift of friendship and for you valuing friends. We see Jesus with all of his friends in the Bible and how he really valued and cared for those relationships. And so I just ask for anyone who's listening that doesn't feel like they have those relationships, God, would you bless them with the friend that they need in this season, in this moment in time, God? Would they be encouraged that friendship is for them, and that there are friends out there who will love them, care for them, and be the friend that they already are. I pray for and thank you for the friendships that are amazing that we have, that you've blessed us with. God, would you strengthen those, and would you just give us all such a gratitude and such a heart of thankfulness for what you've provided, and help us to celebrate those friends in our lives this week. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, guys, I will see you guys again next week. Bye.